just checking. Um, I couldn't afford a lot, so this is the room I got. It's just a queen bed. It has its own washroom. It's in it like a breakfast in bed B&B kind of situation. Okay, this is not too bad. I'm here for 2 days. Problem is my big luggage did not make it with me. It's still in Toronto. I've arranged for it to be delivered later today. However, you know how these things are. Hopefully it gets on the next flight. I could only afford just over 100 Canadian dollars per night. I mean, it's fine. I did get into like kind of a sketchy situation coming out of my cab. My cab driver was great. We had a good conversation. He's from Eritrea and he's been here 6 years. But coming out of my cab, I had like, okay, so I'm using a DJI Pocket 3. It's like a brand new hand holding camcorder thingy. And like within 2 seconds, literally 2 seconds of me like whipping it out from my pocket, I had this guy like pop up from behind me, like between cars, and be like, "Oh, is that the new like thing with the gimbal?" And I was like, "Yes." But and then he like asked a few questions about it. I answered it. Then he like asked to hold it. And I was like kind of sketched out. I like didn't want to be robbed, and I apologize, dude, if you were just like a friendly Newfoundlander. But I told him no, that I'm not okay with that. And he was even like, "Oh, you can hold my phone." But I just was not in the mood to like lose my recording device on day one of my trip. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, it kind of smells funky here, not gonna lie. I mean, I have my own washroom, which is good. I'm gonna need to make so much more money. Hi, what's up guys? I am back in Las Vegas right now for the WPT World Championships. You guys will have to keep watching to find out next what happens in my Canada trip. However, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Zach, who was the previous raffle winner. I gave away a $12,000 WPT Win Championship seat. However, now that that's happening, if you deposit with at least $100 with bonus code XUAN, not only will you get an extra $50 free, but the new raffle will be for a $12,000 WPT Voyage cruise that's happening in March. I will almost certainly be there. In addition, you'll also be eligible for all the other bonuses in effect, like 100% deposit, all the other MTT tickets. WPT Global is the new kid on the block, so they are just throwing money at first-time depositors. So do not hesitate to take advantage of all these promotions. And of course, please gamble responsibly and good luck. So I'm in St. John's. I found a local game. There's a weekly $60 buy-in, $20 bounty re-entries for the first hour event at the Royal Canadian Air Base. I'm not quite sure what to expect. It might be a bunch of vets. I hope I don't take their retirement money, but I'm also going to try really hard to win. A gut shot. Oh, Ted. Oh!
Look at that. Look at that.
Oh my God.
Look at that.
Oh, counterfeited.
Counterfeited.
She would have not tripped.
Nine kicker.
So day one in poker in Newfoundland, I show up to the Royal Canadian Air Force Army Base. It's the last remaining building structure that the Americans actually built from World War I that was also used in World War II. So I show up to this 90 plus 20 bounty tournament, 50K starting stacks. I have effectively 46K during this hand. Blinds are 501K. Under the gun makes it 2K. Under the gun 1 calls. MP calls. I make it 11K from cutoff with pocket queens. I make it to 11K from cutoff. Button calls, big blind calls, and all the previous players call. So now there's 70K in the pot already with 6 players in the pot. And they asked me to deal my own fate in this hand. Luckily, there's not that many flops that I would like more than this one. Queen 6-5, rainbow. I flop top set. I'm thinking there's no way I can get paid here. But just when I'm thinking that,
Molly.
middle position shoves his remaining 21,900 chips. I have top set. I don't tank too long. Like, sometimes we can act like we're weak and convince someone behind us to also get in there, but it's a friendly tournament.
I call.
We flip over the cards. He ends up having Queen Jack. Not much to do there. The pot is already so big, and I win that $20 bounty.
Oh, I copy. Sorry.
Yeah, Ron. Hey, well. How's about this? Yeah.
Got a bounty. All in.
All in. No. Wolf and sheep.
Oh, how did you guys know?
No. Jack King. Oh,
I beat the pro.
You have a Jack too.
I had a Jack also. Case Jack.
Unfortunately, I bust soon after this, but I still got that initial $20 bounty, so a nice little rake back there. Serendipitously, at my first table, I also ended up meeting the first cousin of one of my old poker students, Liz. He bought me beers all night and offered to show me around the city the next day. He took me to Middle Cove, which, because of the recent weather, had 9 feet high waves.
Smell it like crazy. Yeah.
It's quite windy here. My hair is actually still wet. We're out here at Middle Cove Beach. Middle Cove Beach is a storm surge, so the waves are a lot bigger than usual.
It was super cool being on the shores of the Atlantic Ocean, seeing how dramatic this side of the world was. We also had incredible, tender, crispy, flaky fish and chips. And he drove me and his friend Andrew all around the notable neighborhoods in town. It was super scenic, right out of a postcard. I can't wait to go back. George took us to the most easterly point in North America, Cape Spear. I got some really nice shots of the lighthouse and the guns that were built there to protect North America from World War II. There were actually German U-boats right off the coast from these shots right here. And apparently, when the weather is nice, the whales, like hundreds and hundreds of whales, would come right off the coast here and play and mate. And so I can't wait to go back in the summer to see all that. In the evening, some of the guys from the night before planned out a poker game for me. They usually play bigger, but they were kind enough to lower it to 2-5 just for me.
Our host just made some local scallops for us. Look at those. So tasty.
I was warned beforehand. They told me the game was going to be loose and aggressive, and for sure it definitely was. At this point, I'd had my winning sessions in Toronto, but I just had a losing session the day before. And I really need to book another win to move forward. Even though the blinds were manageable, the game was so loose, and I always seemed to just double up at the right time. I had to play pretty tight overall. Sometimes I would have to call 60 or 75 pre with like a really solid hand to see a flop. But other than that, I was really squeezed out of pots often and couldn't really boss anyone around because all of these players are used to playing so much higher. This is how the game played out, okay? So it's 2-5, someone straddles to 10, someone would open to 25, there would be a flatter to 25. Cutoff made it $80 in this hand. I'm in small blind. I wake up with pocket eights. Of course, it's Asian aces, but we start off the hand with only like 52 big blinds. And we see all this dead money in there, and so we just shove with pocket eights. It folds around to cut off, and he tanks for a bit, and he ends up calling with Queen 10 suited. I mean, that's completely fine if he knows I'm shoving with lower pairs like this. We got lucky, we won the flip, and we double up. This is just how the game went. Like, if I had a hand like 7s or 8s or like King Queen suited, I would be so happy, and I would just be looking for spots to see a flop or even get my chips in. because there was just so much dead money in the pot at all times. The thing is, they're also calling you off. Like, you might have sevens or eights, but as you can see in this hand, the guy had queen 10 and he's not folding to my 4-bet shove. I won a few other nice pots. One of them was calling my stack off with second pair. That was a tough one. Well played by my opponent. And like doubling up through a PLO double board bomb pot.
Unless someone got over.
60 goes over
They got an ace.
here.
You got an ace?
I have
No,
seven.
you don't. Okay. What do you got?
There you go.
What do you got good hand? No.
No.
No. Never got.
I don't think I like that, but
Potential.
No one likes it. That's good.
I have
2 pair here, ace 5.
Yes,
I have set in the bottom.
and kings on top.
She got 8. Harry got ace.
She got 2 kings on the bottom and kings on top.
No, where's the side fight? Between
So I
Harry
talked
and
to
Frank.
Frank and Harry right here. Frank got the king. No, Harry got ace on the bottom. Ace 7, ace 5, and Frank's got the jack. Nothing.
But yeah, didn't actually play that many hands that night. Just sort of my good hands did hold. And I ended up booking a $1,180 profit. Unfortunately, being on the high of the win, I got convinced to do a flip. It was only for $100.
Alright, wanna go halves?
2 wins?
Let's go halves.
Yeah.
On this. Let's go halves.
Okay, I got
straight.
We know you got all the cards tipped over for fuck's sake. You can't throw one, you gotta go right fast.
If you don't wanna go halves, just tell
Are
me.
we doing one
Okay,
card
you
at a
gotta play it
time?
like usual.
You're the boss, you know.
Yeah.
It's only one board?
Yeah.
What's that?
What the hell is this?
Still only gonna use 2. Right?
got enough.
What the hell is this? That's
He's
the
gonna have
board.
enough this time to get the aces.
We did like a 5-way multi-round flip and I didn't win that one. So my net profit that day was $1,080. My last day in Newfoundland was also Remembrance Day or Veterans Day. Now, I had some time before my flight to Halifax, so I walked around downtown, had a recommended breakfast specialty called a Telton, and visited the Terry Fox Memorial. It also occurred to me that not a lot of people outside of Canada know who Terry Fox is. Growing up in Canada, he was always a larger-than-life figure. He did something similar to what I'm doing now, although on a much larger scale and on a much harder mode. He was diagnosed with cancer, had his leg amputated, and decided to run his way across Canada. Unfortunately, he made it over 5,000 kilometers and 3,000 miles before he had to stop because cancer appeared in his lungs. Now, Newfoundland, being the most easterly point in Canada, was where he started, so there's this lovely memorial right there. Now, I am, of course, trying to do this on a much smaller scale. It's been kind of a roller coaster year for me, and this is just my way of setting a non-monetary goal, something that I can be proud of and tell my grandkids about. Maybe if I have a really good year, I might remember that. But I think, if I tell my grandkids, hey, like there was this one year I traveled to all 10 provinces and 3 territories in Canada within a month and played poker in each of them and was the first person to do that. I think that's way cooler than, I made X and X amount. It's also just a reminder to myself that you don't need to do grand things to make a difference necessarily. Of course it's nice, but you can also just go to small towns and local communities and, be touched by them and vice versa, and, doing small things and just having an impact on the people who are immediately around you can be just as impactful to give us those, everyday joys. Now, I am doing this on a much smaller scale to spread the joy of the game I love around the country that gave me and my family so many opportunities. And it's also just a reminder to myself that we don't all need to do grand things all the time. Even small gestures only affecting the people around you can be just as impactful in making the world a better place just a little bit. So, in St. John's, Newfoundland, I spent a total of $893 on my flight, 2 nights hotel, a tour of the city, and a cab ride. I won $745, so I ended up losing a little bit on this trip after expenses, and my bankroll is now $4,935. And now we are off to our third province, going back west almost 1,500 kilometers or 900 miles to Halifax, Nova Scotia.
I told them I was flying in, that I would only be in for that specific day. And so yeah, pretty annoyed by that.
Oh!